How are you all doing today? CX500 day. I was going to see if I could ride it today, but actually, come to think of it, I might as well colour tune it first. What's the point of riding it if it doesn't really idle properly? So I've been having a bit of a play around with the bike, seeing how it's running, what needs doing, all sorts. Bear in mind that I hadn't oiled the Canon filters before starting it a long time ago in this video here. Actually oiled them at all. So oil, from what I understand, if I'm right or if I'm wrong, let me know. Oil, from what I understand, restricts the airflow a little bit, a tiny bit. I might be wrong on that. If I am, please correct me down here. I have oiled them since then, and then I took the bike out. And nothing would start. It wouldn't start at all. It just kept on turning and turning, and you know, I was baffled at why, because it had started so well the first time from being out of action for over a year. So anyway, I took the carbs apart and I found out that the carbs were filled with mess from the tank. Obviously the built-in filter that goes with the fuel petcock inside the tank wasn't doing its job. Since then we have changed the fuel petcock. And also added an inline fuel filter just as a second measure. So I mean, the mesh on the fuel petcock itself is quite coarse. I can imagine that tiny specks of dust are going to get into that. It might cause issues with the carbs. So I'll put an inline filter now with a paper filter inside. That is a more dense filter. It's not going to let anything through. It has been running since then, but poorly. It's running fine, sort of half throttle to full. Fine, brilliantly, it works perfectly. Idle to half, not so much. So we're going to figure out what that issue is today. We're going to colour tune it, and that'll give us a bit more insight. And here is my inline fuel filter. Obviously not the best position. It's a really tight distance from that fuel petcock down to that intake. I mean, it's literally just one tiny pipe, and to put this in there I've had to use the original pipe. I've got this bend that I'm not really too comfortable with, to be honest, and it is pointing up, probably it should be pointing down, but I'm going to leave that there for now. The fuel does go through it, see if that works. If it does, great stuff. I'll then figure out what I'm going to do with this, how exactly it's going to work. And also here are the oiled Canons, beautiful red oil. And another bonus as well is I've actually put the choke onto this lever here, so this is my new choke lever. That's it there, in and out. Oh, that's not good. So as you saw then, when I sat down on the bike, I made a positive, which is quite a vital positive, that goes into the starter solenoid to touch the negative of the frame. I need to find out why that happened, what was happening when I was sitting down on it, so that is one thing I need to sort out now. But let's fix the wires, get it sorted, and there you go. Okay, so you can see that the exhaust strap is pretty much smoking now. It's probably the first time that I've probably taken this bike up to temperature that the exhaust strap needs. I'm out of petrol at the moment, so I need to fill up the bike with petrol again. Yeah, that's why it wasn't starting. So what I've done here is I've closed both fuel screws all the way down until they were touching. I then screwed them out. First it was 2 turns out, now it's 2.5. I know you're supposed to do it in increments of 1/8 turns, but I kind of know that I need to be turned out to be on the rich side to compensate for the extra air coming in. So that's why I've done 2 turns and then 2.5. 2.5 seems to run a lot better now. Listen to this. Okay, so it's not running perfectly at the moment. There's a heck of a lot of flat spots. You can hear when I'm opening it out that there's flat spots there. But it's idling a lot better now. So that's just my first go on fiddling around with it before the colour tune. One thing I have noticed though, no fuel. So my fuel filter here was delivering plenty of fuel into it. Now it's not, there's nothing there at all. And it's seriously struggling to come out. So that makes me think that there's a blockage. Off the top of my head, the filter, the built-in filter that goes into the tank there, that could be clogging up. There's so much rubbish in the tank that's not letting the fuel pass. It's not a vacuum system. It's not a vacuum petcock, so it shouldn't be that. I need to look more into that. That's causing me issues. Obviously without fuel, the bike's not going to run. So the first thing I'm going to do now, let's see it trickles in. It shouldn't just trickle in like that. It should be, even on reserve, it's not coming in. That's not good. Right, I've got it on here now. I can imagine once I open this tap, it's all going to come flooding through. Or at least that's what I'm hoping will happen. Let's give it a go. Okay, which way's open? Ah, it's really dirty. See if we can salvage the rest of that. Ah, which way? Which way? But look at that now. Look at all that. That's not actually the worst of it. So you can see at the end over there, all that, all the dirt and everything. Give the tank a shake, let's do that again, see if there's any more fuel to flush it out, and then, yeah, I mean, no wonder it wasn't letting anything through with all that. So I've actually changed the filter. I've no idea why, but that wasn't letting anything through. Whether that was full, I mean it is really dirty, but I mean not to the point where it should stop things going in, but I mean it's doing its job, it is stopping a heck of a lot of particles. Right, so I figured out, at the moment it's running well, kind of. 2.5 turns out on the bottom screw. There is a tiniest bit where it doesn't, there's a flat spot. Right at the very beginning, I'd probably say it's less, it's probably a 1/16 of a throttle where it won't open straight away. So if you open it, you've got to open the throttle out a tiny bit for it to then open out. That is the very sort of base of the idles. That is your idling jet. Next step is a color tune, but it's running fine now. As you can hear, it's loud. It's so loud. It's idling fine as well. We can adjust that ever so slightly. Of course, it needs synchronizing. Of course, it needs. We can adjust the throttle cable a tiny bit so that it idles better. All those bits. So it's running brilliantly. Happy with that. So I'm going to go across this color tune adapter kit in amongst all this mess that I've got here. Inside it comes obviously with a gasket and an adapter. And it wasn't the cheapest thing in the world for these two bits. That's essentially what you get in the kit. And this essentially is the original color tune kit. We're not using that, do we? No, we're not. Right, let's see how this works. I'm figuring this out for the first time. Thing there. Right, we're gonna have to put this in. I don't know how I'm gonna get the gasket out though, but it's needed. Let's just go with it. That obviously goes in afterwards. Yeah, let's just go with it. Let's give it a go, see what happens. Alright, we'll take the old spark plug out. Make sure, yeah, everything's off. And then in goes the new one. How I'm going to get that down there. So on the other side you saw that it was blue on idle, and that's exactly what we need. And it will, when you rev it, it will go a little bit yellow because obviously it's increasing that whole load of fuel into it. And as you go out of it, it'll go into a greenish colour and then back to an idle blue, which is exactly what we need. So let's try this side now. Okay, so that was interesting. Cylinder number 2, is that off before I take it out? Cylinder number 2 doesn't seem to ignite as often as what it should. I'll look into that. I know that there are sort of historic issues with CX500s where cylinder number 2 kind of wants to kick in a bit later on. Cylinder 1 kind of works first and then cylinder 2 kicks in. I have no idea why that is, and I've read forums. No one seems to be able to come up with a solution. Right, so that is where I'm going to leave this video. Color tune seems alright. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's alright. It shows me that I'm getting a blue spark, a blue flame on idle, and it's the idle that was concerning me most, and that's fine, that's fine. One thing to take away from this video is that cylinder number 2 doesn't fire as often as what it should. Whether that'll get better over time, I don't know. I mean, I could do a plug chop but I need to get it on the road to do that, and of course I can't get it on the road without being MOT'd, but the next step for me to do is to synchronise the carbs, which I'm not going to do today. But hopefully that'll be getting the bike sounding, I mean, it sounded brilliantly. When you open it out, there's no problems there. That sounds amazing. Just like I said, that sort of 1/8, that first 1/8 of the open throttle, it's not as responsive as what I would like it to be. But anyway, next job for me now is to bleed the brakes, synchronise the camera. So as you saw, I need to figure out what wires were touching when I was sitting down on the bike. And that is it. It's well, what is it, 30 days? We've got 30, well, let's say 27 days to get the bike MOT worthy, roadworthy, sorted, and in time for Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. I'm not panicking in the slightest. It's not like back in the bike shed when we had 5 days to build the entire bike. It's nothing like that. We've got a month to get this bike riding perfectly. Next few videos to come on the CX500 will be the synchronizing, a test ride, and also wiring up this new dial kit to the rest of the bike. Now that we've got the bike running fine, I can do that as well. It's warming up, all that is to come. More videos on the Ducati, more videos on the GS550 as well. I've been a bit slow, more videos on the CV750. I've been a bit slow this week, only because there's so much to do with family at the moment. But I will get back onto track. If you like what you see, subscribe, follow me on Instagram. If you want to show your support, then support me at the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. The link is down below. Support this channel by visiting philipboldindustries.com, seeing if there's any merchandise you like there. So until the next video, safe riding, happy riding, and enjoy yourself.